Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are continuing our top 100 games of all time for 2021. I don't have any other segue into this. Once again, this is I feel like it's gonna be a running theme for this year, which is very nice and makes me very happy. But I have a few that fell, a few new ones, and most actually went up. So yeah.
Mine's the opposite. The majority of mine fell. I had some new ones, and then only one of mine rose.
Interesting. Yeah. So once again, I think I mentioned in the last one, but these lists, if you ever do a top 100 or you watch a top 100 and you're just like, man, they must hate all these games, or like, why do you keep games if they fell 80 spots? And it's like, they fall, so at least based off my list, they fall and rise based off if you get to play them. It has nothing really to do with whether or not you like it or not, because if you don't like it, it's not on the list.
Right.
So like a good example is, it's definitely not on the list, and I'll spoil it, I guess, but Etherfields is not on my list anywhere, because after playing it a significant amount, Kat and I were like, we don't like how this game plays anymore. So it's not like, oh, it was 15 last year and now it's 90. I hate it, but I have to keep it on the list. So just a little insight. Ow, I hit my thing into the list. But without further ado. No,
I was just gonna say, and mine is a little unique as well because of my solo play. I'm doing a lot more solo and cooperative style games. So that kind of messed with mine a little bit too, because the group's not meeting up a whole lot this year. So.
That's true. All right. Without further ado, let's get started with number 90. Number 90 last year was 100, and it rose 10 spots. Thank you for jumping ahead.
Sorry, I was clicking.
No, you're fine. And it is Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. In 2019, it was 78, so it fell. I mean, it was still on the list last year, but just barely. It's gone up not a significant amount, 10, because I played it recently, and I think these games still hold up to all the other ones. I mean, I, of course, like most of the whodunit games better. But this one was the first one I ever played. I think there's another one called Witness that came out before it that is impossible to get a hold of. I've been trying. But if I had to do my top 10 favorite genres, which I don't think we've done, we should do, this would most likely be at least in the top 5. The whodunits are just an absolute blast. And even though there's like 7 like total that I can think of, I've never run into a story that is similar. So I mean, I can't really give a whole lot of spoilers. I mean, essentially each game, each box comes with 10 scenarios, and you just Sherlock gives you his condescending opioid fueled description of what's happening, and then you're just left with what to do. It's like, oh well, he said that the body was found next to the library. Okay, well, here's a library. Let's look at the map. And that's in the Northwest district, and it's number 10. So look for 10 Northwest in the book and read it. A lot of reading. So if you don't like that, then I guess don't play it. But I don't mind it. And then you answer questions at the end, and you're scored on how well you did. Typically poorly, but I've done good sometimes.
So can this one be played solo?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
I assumed, but wasn't sure.
Yeah, you could easily get a box, and that's 10 games, and just read it. I mean, you read it to yourself and make your own notes, and then when you feel like you're done, just go answer the questions, and then be sad that you got none of them right.
Right.
And then, because there is a game, like, you're supposed to beat Sherlock. He always gets 100, like a score of 100. And the questions are points. So if you get a question right, and that's like 25 points, and there's 4 questions, if you get them all, and then there's bonus questions. That's how you can beat Sherlock. But you do it in a number of leads. Each paragraph that you read is a lead, and each lead that you do over how many Sherlock does is minus 5 points. So if you did it in 15 leads and Sherlock did it in like 3, then you're getting negative 60 points. So that's kind of how the game works, but these are fantastic. This is the picture of the first box. It's a reprint. And then they have, I think, 2 others. No, 3 others. I think there's 4 total
Yeah,
boxes.
there's a handful of them. Yeah.
So there's like, that's 40 cases. The second one actually has a 4-part mini series of Jack the Ripper, which is pretty good. So yeah, that's my number 90, Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective.
I will need to try those sometime.
I think you would like it, especially if you're doing it solo, like, or if your wife likes these kind of games, then it's perfect at 2. Honestly, I would cap it at 3, because 4 and up, it's just too many people. No one's ever really getting to do or say anything. So kind of like Chronicles of Crime and all those other games, I cap it at 3.
Gotcha. All right. Well, my number 90 is the one game that rose on this list.
Okay.
It rose 50 spots.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
It was 140 last year, and it was 171 the year before that. And it's an older game. It's one that I get played once or twice a year, and I enjoy it every single time I play it. And that is Village.
Nice. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
This is an older game.
Yeah, it was 2011, I believe.
I think so.
And this one, you're doing your worker placement, and it's your typical Euro worker placement style game with the unique aspect of you're going through the time, and your family members are dying, and they're going to the graveyard, and it's just that in itself is just a unique thing. That was what sold me to buy it, was just because you're building up your stuff using your workers perish, you have all that stuff.
They perish. They always die in horrid ways.
But really it's just all about worker placement and getting points. You're just trying to one thing I like about this game as well is that the turns are pretty quick. Like it's not one of those long drawn out style games. I have not played with any of the expansions.
I played with the Inn. I think it was called the Inn.
Yes, that's one. There's the port and the inn and stuff like that. And I cannot for the life of me, I'm looking at the box right now, and it says the Inca and Marcus Brand did this, and I cannot remember. They've made another really, really popular game.
Rajas of the Ganges.
Is that what I'm thinking of? I thought there was another one too. But yeah.
Well, it's Top Games by designer. I have a Board Game Geek pulled up. That was the first one I saw that I know you've played.
Oh yeah, and I love it. I mean, that's it. Spoiler alert: it's going to be higher on the list most likely. But
I'll take it off.
But no, this one is one of those. It gets, like I said, it gets played maybe once a year, and that it just keeps creeping up. I mean, over the years, I've went away more from the Ameritrash style games to more Euro-y. I like Euro-y stuff quite a bit, which contradicts my opinions of those brain burning games I complain about to you all the time with Tricarion and stuff, because you'd think since I'm going more Euro, I would probably like those more. So
yeah, well, there's lightweight or medium weight Euros. Like you don't have to go it, and it's like, oh, I don't like Ameritrash. Okay, I guess my only other option is Vedal games.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, this one is one. I don't know how much higher it'll go, but it's definitely rising for the time.
Yeah, this one I used to own. I used to own both the expansions for it and got rid of it because I think at the time I didn't care for these games, and I've wanted it back since. Because it was actually a Euro worker placement game that you could actually get some theme on. You could technically, if you wanted to, role play out your family. But the game definitely doesn't give you that. You have to really put that into it. But it's a solid one.
Yeah, that's my 90.
All right, my number 89. My number 89 is new to the list, came out this year, and I actually ended up backing the newest Kickstarter for the expansion because I want that clacker board. And it is, I'm gonna laugh, it was a totally different game. I'd be like, yo,
Yes.
never mind.
That clacker
Yeah.
board.
Yeah, every game needs a clacker board.
Blood
Whatever those
Rage.
are. The Blood Rage clacker board. What are those called? Clacker board in film. I think it's actually called a clapper. Clapper board. Okay, I was saying clacker.
Yeah, you're close.
I was close. Anyway, Roll Camera is a cooperative dice worker placement. Well, not worker, dice placement game. Where you are trying to make a film. I saw this at Gen Con, and the guy that was selling it to me, he could have just lied, but apparently this designer is an actual filmmaker, and he wanted to make a board game, and it is extremely solid. Like you, from the theming, you would imagine it's a party game, or it comes off as if it wants to be a party game, but no, not at all. This is actually pretty stressful and difficult, like dice game. So you have kind of a script that you're trying to follow. That's how you're going to get your points. And there's a track on the side that you need to move to either make it. There's like a big like pink section. You're trying to get your board or that little token out of the pink section. And you can do that in a couple ways. You can either make your film a masterpiece, or you can make it so bad it's good. So you don't only have to raise it. Every film I've made has been so bad it's good. Like I never, for some reason, can never make a great movie. But what's really fun is you actually have to build set pieces. You have to use those dice to film scenes, because there's like a polyomino aspect of how you need to place dice. And then you move those scenes over. And then once that you've filmed 5 scenes, then the game is immediately over. So, and then you're supposed to tell the story of your of your movie. Very fun, whimsical theme, but the game itself does not match that. What was very interesting about this is in the run through, we had played it before and Kat wasn't into it at the time, but I thought it was just she wanted to kind of talk to the other people instead of play. And whenever we did play it, her attitude didn't change. She still didn't really like it. So if you're expecting a party game, this is not that. Like I've mentioned, the beginning and the end are very party and fun, improv-y kind of things, but then the game itself is not. It's a thinker, but I like it. I think it's great. It is hilarious with the cards and the text and the player powers, but for some reason the gameplay is not. But it's extremely solid. I can't wait for the expansion.
Interesting. All right. Well, my number 89 is another Euro, and this one is new to the list. It's been out for a couple of years though, and that is Coimbra. This one is one that I kind of had on my wish list for quite a while. I picked it up early last year, and this game is interesting. And I think, have you played this one yet? I know you haven't.
Yeah, it's still on my shelf. Haven't touched it.
This one it's a mixture of dice drafting, card drafting, engine building. It's got a lot of different things with it, but what's unique about it is that there's 3 ages of cards, and it's going to be the same cards every time, but they just come out differently. But the first age or first set of cards, you're going to split the cards up. Everybody's going to get 2 cards. You're going to sort them out, 2 cards in a pile, right? And then whoever the first player is gets to choose first what set of cards they want. When they choose those cards, that will be where they start on these 4 different tracks. So there's like a money track, a popularity track, or something. I can't remember the names of the tracks, but anyway, you choose the 2 cards, and that's where you start, right? But it kind of snakes, because you get to choose a set of cards, move up, and then it goes from first down to 4th player. Let's say you're playing a 4-player game, and then the 4th player can choose to put their pilgrim on the travel board first, so it kind of balances that way. The core mechanics of this game is there's multicolored dice. When they get rolled and you're drafting the dice, you have these cool little, they're kind of hard to explain. It's like the top of a castle, like a tower. And you take the dice and it snaps into that of your color, and then you place it into one of these 4 places on the left side of the board. And then those are for different actions or in different stuff.
Okay.
The trick of it is when you draft dice, the higher the number gets you the first choice of the cards, right? But the higher the dice makes the cards you buy more expensive. Does that make sense?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like if you put a 6 down, you're going to get to choose first, but you're going to have to pay 6 of whatever the unit is on the top left of the card.
Gotcha. Okay, interesting.
If you do a 1, then yeah, you're going to get it for cheap, but you're going to get last choice.
Okay.
And then so you kind of there's a strategy of knowing how to do that stuff, and then also the colors of the dice will fire at the end of your turn. So if you have a 6 in yellow, then you're going to go up on the yellow track 6 spots, and that's how much gold you get every turn right off the bat, you know. So there's a lot of strategy to this game, more than I thought there was going to be.
Yeah.
And the replayability is really high because of the dice stuff. The dice don't kill you. It's not like it's not the whole you don't need the mitigation of dice, you know, because there's a lot of dice out there you get to draft, so you're going to get to choose your stuff.
So yeah, so it's not like, man, I really need a 3 to do what I need to do.
Right. I mean, you're going to get stuff. I mean, you know, and money's usually not that big of an issue. I mean, sometimes you have to pay a good chunk, you know. And if there's these tokens throughout the game, well, 1 token mainly, that it's this little cardboard thing that'll set on top of your dice, and it'll add 3 pips. So it'll guarantee that you get to pick first, but you're going to end up spending 3 more.
Yeah.
money.
Okay.
You know, and these cards that you buy are doing stuff like they're making you go up on the tracks. They're making you, you know, get more powerful throughout the deal and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff going on in this game, but it's pretty simplistic. There's a lot of symbols, so you're digging through the rule book a lot, looking at symbols a little bit, but it's not a big rule book, you know. So
yeah,
it's a pretty simple game once you get. I attribute the symbology kind of the same as Seven Wonders. I mean, once you get the idea of it. But no, this is a good one. You know, it surprised me quite a bit when I played it. And it kind of looks nice on the table, and I love those little plastic things that your dice snap into. They're kind of neat looking on the table when you get them.
Sure.
Get them going and stuff.
Yeah. I'll definitely have to give it a shot. It looks like it'd be right up my alley.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's
funny enough,
one.
your 89 and 90 are both Eggert Spiel games.
Oh yeah, there they go. Told you,
So,
man. I'm turned into a Euro person. I need to just move to Germany.
I mean, yeah, you probably should. It'll be amazing. I mean, that's the thing, though, is at this point, I mean, if you're looking at games that are older, like Village, it was at that time, it was very much Ameritrasher, but now they're kind of all blended together.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, speaking of Seven Wonders, my 88 is Seven Wonders. My 88 is some other game. No. So Seven Wonders is it has fallen actually quite a bit. Last year it was 49. The year before that it was 50. So it's fallen like 30 spots. And I actually did play this year. There is absolutely nothing wrong with Seven Wonders. It is still a very solid civilization building game. One of the first, if not the first, to implement card drafting, which is still one of my favorite mechanisms in gaming. And it's so simple. Like card drafting, it allows for like thought process without you having to like brain burn. Like, but it also does include one of my least favorite ways people can play is hate drafting, where it's just like, I know he wants this. I don't get anything for it, so I'm just gonna take it. And it's like, okay, fine. But yeah, so Seven Wonders, you have a wonder that you are trying to build, and you are trying to like draft cards that give you military, that give you victory points, that give you resources, and you spend those resources to build different levels of your wonder. You don't win the game that way at all. It does give you perhaps sometimes a passive ability or a one-time benefit. And there's 3 ages. Once the ages are over, you tally up your victory points, and whoever has most points wins. It's extremely solid. I have found if no one else is going military is going to be your biggest way of winning. But and that doesn't make thematic sense. Hey, I have the military might, I'm just going to take you over, kind of thing. But if people are kind of keeping up with you on military, or they're taking those cards to turn them into money, then the game is relatively balanced. There's a bunch of expansions that add leaders and guilds and seafaring. All those expansions are fantastic, except the Babel one. I don't know why I even brought that up. That's easily the worst expansion.
Part of it is good. There's some of the modules work better than others in that for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, it probably fell just because I'm liking other games better, and I don't know if it's even on here. I did recently play the Seven Wonders Killer that a lot of people were mentioning, but no, I don't think it's actually on my list because I hadn't played it for so long. If I can find it, I'll mention it.
Are you talking about Hedara?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It fell to 153 this year. It would rise significantly because I did actually get it played like a month ago. I don't call it a Seven Wonders Killer. No. It's extremely good, but yeah. So Seven Wonders, if you haven't played it, definitely give it a shot. It's one of the cleaner civ building games that doesn't have a meta that I can think of.
And I think the biggest thing to this, one of the things you didn't mention, is how a game for the most part with 7 players plays the exact same game length almost as a game with 3 players. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
And you only have to deal with your 2 neighbors, and that's such a good thing,
Yeah, exactly. And actually, what that whenever I did last play this, we did play with 7, and yeah, it does. You're not sitting there waiting like, okay, my turn's over. Oh, now I have to wait for 6 other players.
Well, and I think that makes that the thematic stuff even more, when you sit back and really think about, like you were talking about military. And if somebody's just going all hog, wild on military, if they're across the world from you or across the table, then it's like, go to town.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you might still lose because they're getting all these points, and you're like, oh crap, I'm not keeping up with that. But still, I am curious though, because apparently Hedara has a bunch of expansions. I wonder if that enhances it even more, where it does become a Seven Wonders Killer.
I hadn't heard of any expansions for it.
I know, right? Well, it got a 2nd edition that looks like shit.
I don't like the box cover of the second.
No, it's very ugly. I mean, it's not like, I like the art in the colors, but the overall color scheme is like, wow, because they wanted to feel like that board. That I don't know, it's dumb. But yeah, like on Board Game Geek, it has expansions for the Plague Doctors, Marketplaces and Monuments, and Nobles and Inventions.
I wonder if they're like those little mini expansions you can buy that, like, from their website and stuff, like what era
play expansions. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Anyway, so Seven Wonders is my 88.
All right, that might be higher on my list somewhere. We'll see.
Probably not. You don't even know what your list is.
All right, my number 88 was a surprise to me, and it's the theme of this game is not something that I really seek out, but it's a very pretty game. You introduced it to me. It's another one of those.
That's what I do.
That is Philosophia Floating World.
There we go. Nice.
This one, I said I was going to play it because, I don't do the feudal Japan stuff that much. But this one, the gameplay was, everything kind of melded together really well, like the whole, divide and choose of your cards that you're going to use that turn. When you draw your 6 cards for your turn, you give them to your neighbor, and then they kick one of them out of the game, split the other ones into a pile of 3 and 2, and then hand them back, and you have to choose. So I mean, so you can't. You're always busy. Like you're always busy looking at your other people's cards. It has nice miniatures with it, and you're pretty much doing set collection and set collection is really kind of one of the main things. I mean, because you have to have the sets and the cards to be able to complete, whether you're defeating the monster or doing all the other stuff.
You are trying to also find their hideout, like their stronghold, which is interesting.
The hidden movement, kind of not movement, but the hidden location kind of stuff. But also, did we play this simultaneous when we played it, or did we?
No.
Okay.
Wait, yeah, we did. We played a regular game, turn taking, and then we did another one where it was simultaneous.
Because the simultaneous stuff, I mean, especially if you're playing with trustworthy people, which we have no problem with, but those kind of games, I always have to be wary of who I'm playing with. But these games go pretty quick if you're doing all that actions and you just kind of whip through stuff. Oh, that's right, because there was that tiebreakers thing.
Yeah, the initiative track is what breaks ties.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
And we only did it as a 2-player game, and I thought it was very clean. Like I was never like, oh man, this really needs like 3 others, This one is 116. No, that's not true. 114. It's 114 on my list. Didn't quite make it, but man, it is really good. It was very surprising. Yeah, and the artwork is, man.
Yeah, it almost looks real. It's realistic artwork.
Yeah,
a lot of it, and then a lot of those other cards, like the monster cards. I think you had said they actually had the artists' names on all of them.
That's what I thought.
I believe.
I know all the artists were different.
Right. That was the thing with this game, though. Like there was a predecessor to this game.
Yeah, Daring to be Wise. Dare to be Wise.
It looks more convoluted than this one. This one looks more clean, and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, this was one that I don't love the solo version. I mean, it's
Have
fun.
You played it?
Yeah,
I thought it was pretty bad.
It's I don't think it's horrible, but it's just kind of blah. I mean, it's just kind of boring. But I actually played this with a couple other people, a month or so ago, and it's good stuff.
Awesome.
This was a good one. I went out and bought a copy shortly after we played it. So
nice, which is saying a lot considering that you don't like this theme at all.
Right. And this one obviously was unrated for me last year.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's because it's new.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first one, has like 6.9 on BGG, and this one currently has 7.5. So I mean, I don't do a whole lot of stock into ratings just because some of my favorite games don't have high ratings, but yeah, this one was really, really good. I was very happy that I backed it. All right. My number 87 is new to the list. And it was one I actually wasn't initially going to back, or I never thought I would have actually liked, because it came across as like a filler game. But there is a lot of thought behind it, and there's a lot of these games coming out, and that is Calico. Oh, look how cute he is. This company, Flat Out Games, is one to keep an eye on, because so far the 2 games I've played from them have been extremely solid, and then the new one that just finished on Kickstarter, Verdant or whatever, about plants. Yeah, it looks equally like thinky, but also not insanely like difficult, if that makes any sense. But Calico is, oh my god, it's so adorable. You're essentially making patterns, like you're trying to draft tiles to put them in a certain pattern organization to score you the most points. And you're also trying to put those patterns in a certain way that allows a cat to be placed on, and those cats score points depending on how many you have. So the tiles have dual purpose, and you're very limited on where you can place it on your board. because the boards have an outer edge of patterns, and then you're just trying to connect those. So the fact that whenever you're placing a tile in a specific spot and they'll never be able to move, like you're just like, okay, it's gonna go here. Oh God, no, that's not gonna work. And then it's just as the tiles are coming out, you're really hoping for a specific one. And then if it comes out, you have to be very calm because someone else might be needing the same one. And whenever they take it, you're just like, no, and then you quit, you rage quit.
Yep.
No, this one is so adorable. All the cats have like names and little backstory in the rule book, and it's thought provoking. And games are about 30 minutes, so these are the kinds of games that I keep. I don't like filler games where I felt like I didn't do any thinking or felt like I did anything, like Splendor. But then there's these that come out where you're like, you're invested in every turn. So yeah, this one was definitely going up on the list, and it's adorable. I love it, and I have a Calico cat, so
yeah,
had to keep it.
Well, I have not played this, but since my wife doesn't watch these podcasts, she will be opening it for Christmas in the morning. So
oh, nice.
So I will have it.
Sweet.
Whenever she puts a game on her Christmas list, I gotta buy it because then it just kind of flows.
Then you also get it.
Right.
You know what's interesting though is that you called this a podcast, and I was like, you know what? I don't see why I don't have podcasts.
Oh
like,
yeah, I guess I did call it podcast. Oops,
for these. No, it's fine. It's fine. I've thought about doing a podcast, but that's just more time sunk that I don't have because this is not my job.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So my number 87 is a game that has fallen a little bit, and it's just because it hasn't hit the table. And it was 37 2 years ago, 36 last year, and now it's 87.
87.
It's Space Base.
I get it.
This one, it'll go right back up if it gets played. It's just there isn't a way to do this one cooperative or solo as yet. There's a new expansion coming out, and I don't know if it's going to add cooperative or whatever. I've heard rumors that it would.
Okay.
But which if that is, it'd be awesome. But this is one that it kind of takes that Machikoro theme where you're rolling dice and gaining resources and all that stuff. This one you are doing kind of the same thing, but you're like you're space base. I mean, clever name. And you'll have these ships that you'll have docked, and then you get the stuff from them. And when you ship them out, they become stuff. I mean, you can get stuff on other people's rolls. So this one's a little different in that some of the ships will gain when you roll, and then when you send ships out, they'll become stuff that when other people roll, you'll gain. So they've done one of the expansions threw in trying to do like a little bit of a theme to it, like the Pluto something. I really haven't messed with that a whole lot. But yeah, I mean, this one's just, it's got weird cards. They're cards that they're like bubblegum cards. They're weird rectangle.
Oh, very thin.
Yeah. And there is one card that a lot of times I won't put into the game just because it's one of those that if you...
Is that the auto win one?
Yeah, if you can it's hard to get off, but if you can get enough energy cells built up and the other people aren't playing fast, then you can fire it off and it's an auto. So a lot of it just depends on who you're playing with. If you're playing with people that have played the game a lot, then I leave it in there.
Yeah.
Just because everybody knows, but if it's with new people, you don't want to put something like that in there because
it's like it's like a useless card. Like I don't understand, because like you just said, you're a dick if you're playing with new people and you go that strategy. And if you're playing with anyone who has a brain, they're just gonna be like, I'm gonna take that so you can't do it. Or I'm gonna take a card to stop the engine from popping off. So then it's like, why do we even have this? It serves no purpose.
But that's the thing. There's so many cards though in this game. Missing that, I mean, it's not going to change the game at all. Just leaving that card in the box. I mean,
exactly
things. So, but yeah, this is a good one. I mean, if you like the Machikoro style of rolling dice and gaining resources, this just takes it up another notch.
Yeah.
Just because of the stuff. I would say
there's no meta
to
this one. That's why this one is significantly better than Machikoro.
Yeah, exactly. And I put this one kind of right in the middle of Card Kingdoms, Valeria Card Kingdoms, and Machikoro. This kind of sits kind of right in that middle zone.
Sure.
So anyway,
Okay. Yeah, this one's
There you
not
go.
bad. I don't own it. That kind of genre, I mean, it doesn't really do it for me. This one does have some thought behind it, but ultimately for me, it still kind of comes down to you roll dice and then you're like, I gained some money.
yeah. Well, and that's
Okay.
that's the other thing I
Time
felt
to
to mention.
buy
Like when you gain ships, because you purchase ships with your resources and stuff, if you buy, let's say, a 12, it replaces the 12, and then that
Mhm.
other 12 gets tucked underneath and goes out to space. That's how that
Right.
works, you know.
Yeah.
So you want to buy a couple, that way you can get more of that, and it's got some
Mhm.
different things, but yeah,
Yeah.
it'll probably bounce back up if I can play it again this year.
Cool. All right. So sticking to a similar kind of theme as my last one is Calico. This one also has a lighthearted feel, but there is thought behind it. Very beautiful game. I think they're done putting expansions out for it, which is fine. There's actually been quite a few, and that is
Oh, this is my
Sagrada.
86 also.
Is it really? Oh, wow. Did we have that happen last time? No,
I
that must have been for a
don't
different,
know.
our anticipated list, maybe.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Okay, so Sagrada is a dice drafting puzzle game, really. You have a window, like a glass window that you're trying to make, and that in that you slide in a pattern of varying levels. A lower level, easier one to do is going to basically make it to where you don't have to be so stringent on which dice you need, but you also can't use the special public abilities as much. And then a harder one is very strict, but you get more opportunities to use those abilities. I actually just played this one not too long ago. It's so good. Like the dice drafting about it is fantastic. Because there's really one hard rule. You can't place a die of the same color orthogonally, so next to each other, and you can't place a die of the same number. So future planning, like in Calico, goes a long way, because I mean, if you can't take a die, then you can't place a window or place it, and that's a negative point at the end of the game.
Yeah. This one, for some reason, came out around the same time Role Player was, and they get compared a lot, but they're not the same game. I mean,
No,
it's
not at all.
but yeah, this one for me was 62 last year, so it did fall a little bit, mainly
yeah.
because I only have the base game. Like, I haven't played with any of the expansion stuff yet, and I need to get those because I know my wife enjoys this game and stuff.
Yeah. I did forget to mention, yes, Sagrada was 75 last year, so it fell. I mean, about 10 spots, 11 spots to be exact, and it was 64. So it is slowly falling, but I mean, they'll probably always be on the top 100.
It's a pretty ass game, that's for sure. The dice being translucent and the colorful and everything, it just looks really nice.
Yeah. Funny enough, Role Player came out in 2016 and Sagrada was in 2017.
Okay, so kind of.
I did not know. I thought Sagrada came out first. But yeah, I have played. They have a lot of promo windows that don't really matter. They have, they're all small box expansions. They have a 5th player, like a 5 to 6 player expansion. They have their Great Facade like expansions, like Passion, and I think Life is the other one. I think they actually have one more that'll be coming out. But yeah, they add a different, like, translucent dice that give you a little bit more flexibility and something special about them. I think in the 5 to 6 player expansion, they added a little circular template where you can bank dice. So they're good. But yeah, this one is very, very pretty. Always a hit whenever I bring it to the table and show new people, because they can understand how the dice work. And whenever you're rolling them and they have to draft, it's just like, okay, I just need a purple. If there's one purple in there, hopefully no one takes it. And of course someone took it. Okay, so now what am I gonna do? So yeah, it's really, really good. If I was telling someone which one to get between Role Player and Sagrada, like as a first time, I would definitely say Sagrada.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I would too. Unless they're D&D type players.
True.
I mean, that would be the only way I'd go the other way. But
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, that was your 86.
well, I'm gonna go ahead and click the button, go to my 86. There we go.
Yes.
That's
Oh, okay. There it is. All right. Interesting. So what are your thoughts on Sagrada?
Same.
That's so funny. I would laugh if like your daughter slightly tilted the picture just to like act, it's just slightly annoying just to show how it's different. But all right. My 85, it was 74 last year. And this one has so many cards to it. This is a game that is right up my alley. And it's a deck builder that you kind of go on a quest searching for some stones made of thunder.
Oh gosh.
And Thunderstone Quest, you don't do that at all. I really have no idea why it's named this. Unless there are Thunderstones somewhere around. I have
there in the originals before Quest came out, there was little plastic actual Thunderstones that were you were picking up and stuff. So I think just because it's the theme.
I see. Okay. I gotcha. All right. So Thunderstone Quest is it's a deck builder where you are a particular hero that is trying to I mean in the, because you can play this cooperatively as well. But in the competitive nature,
you only can if you have the barricades expansion. That's the only way you can.
Yeah. And I think that's how I played it last time. So with Thunderstone, yeah, so you're basically doing very standard deck building. There is a village and a dungeon phase. The village phase is where you can go out and spend money and buy items that go into your deck. And then there's the dungeon phase where there are tiles, different tiles of locations that you need a light level to be able to delve further onto these tiles. And whenever you get into the tile, you can fight either, they have different decks that you draw from, and you can fight and then using your deck to kill the creatures, and then that gives you a reward that allow you to continue to enhance your deck. And you're trying to get as far out because you're searching for keys, and there's a certain number of keys in each of the decks, and whenever you put the correct amount of keys, then the game will end. Because I forgot the first time I played this, I was like, why is this game taking like 2 hours? It does not take that long. But yeah, because there's a big bad boss at the end, and you're trying to be the one to actually kill it, and then you just tally up your victory points, and whoever has the most wins. The reason why this one is on the list just because it has so many cards, and I love card games. I love just, and it's AEG, which that's kind of their shtick, is making like high replayability card games, because they have Smash Up, they have Edge of Darkness, they have I think they had Space Base as well. Was them. So yeah, because it's John D. Clare as the designer. But yeah, this one, the rule book is not amazing because the village phase feels very weird at times, because I thought there was an actual like village, like a location that like you actually have to move around and go to. Now you just kind of go somewhere. You can go to the market, buy some cards. You can go, I'd have to look at the board again to remember what all locations you can go to. Is this it? Oh, it is. Yeah. You can go to the bazaar, that gets you your food, your light, or your potions. The guild's quarter lets you level up. So if you're a certain type of cleric fight, because your cards, like who you are in your deck, and you can level them up. You can, the Shop of Arcane Wonders is how you get treasure cards, and then the marketplace are where weapons, spells, and then armor and stuff like that is. And then you have your different dungeon rooms that you can go to. There's just so much replayability to this. It's insane. And they just, well, not just, but they recently did a new expansion to it. So that's even more stuff you're gonna have to store. Both of these boxes are insanely heavy.
Yes.
So yeah.
All right,
Yes.
not bad one. Not bad. I haven't played this one in a while.
It's been a little bit for me too, hence why it fell. But it is a really good deck builder.
Yeah. All right. Well, my number 85 was 53 last year and 55 the year before that. Fell mainly just because it hasn't gotten played a whole lot. Still a very enjoyable solo experience, and that is Run, Fight, or Die.
Interesting. I was hoping it would have fell after we played it.
It fell 30 spots, but no, as far as solo play, I mean, you can whip a game of this out in no time flat. I mean, you just have your zombie minis sitting out, and you just roll the dice, do it. You know, I mean, it's super fast for solo play.
Yeah.
And it has the different expansions, you know, the Horde expansion and all those different things to add complexity to it. Pretty much, there was a Kickstarter, a second edition of this that came out a couple of years after this one came out.
Yeah.
And I hate the art style and the direction they took. So this is the best one to get if you can find it, in my opinion. Yeah, you have your own little board that's broken up into 3 sections, and your character that you choose is right below. You place it right at the bottom of that board. And zombies, you know, each turn they kind of move a section closer, and if they end up moving onto your player card, you take that much damage.
Yeah.
You're rolling dice, and guns take out any in the 3 zones. Bats take out in the first zone. You know, the one thing I do like that's kind of thematic with this is when you roll the running symbol. It's like if you spin that, everybody moves back, so it simulates you running away from them. That's kind of a neat. And if they're in that last zone and you do that, then that means you've ran away and they've kind of stopped chasing you.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty clever, simple system that.
Right.
It really does actually portray you running away, which is cool.
And then every character has like this super risky superpower where if you can go, it's kind of like a Yahtzee. Like if you roll whatever they have on there, then you have this one super powerful ability that you can fire off. Most of them have several zombie icons though, so if you don't get that, then you're kind of in trouble.
That is true. The game is, I mean, it's a dice game.
It is. And Richard Lanius, you know, I mean, I think this was kind of his filler, you know, deal. But it's just one of those games. I mean, it will probably always be around on this list just because if I'm looking to play a quick zombie game, I mean, this one literally takes less than 3 minutes to set up and go. You know, it's just no time at all.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. 8th Summit. What else did they do?
They've done
Mythos Tales is the one that I know.
Yeah, and they've done a few others. I can't remember.
Defenders of the Last Stand.
Yeah, and that one was
on here.
Okay. I mean, Defenders of the Realm is better than Defenders Last Stand, but
yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. My 84 went up. Actually, I think all the other ones, went up. Last year it was 112, and in 2019 it was 21. So God, that is like in a 2-year span. It was like, oh man, this game's great, and then just fucking no, I don't even think about it anymore. But no. And I haven't even played it like recently, but as I was like comparing these games, I was like, no, this one is really good. And it is one of Vito Losardo's lightest game, if not the lightest game. That is Escape Plan. Escape Plan is an extremely solid, really uniquely themed game, as most of his actually kind of tend to be, because you never really see them anywhere else, where you have just finished a massive heist and you've staged money in all different spots of the town. And what you're trying to do is you are trying to get all that money, or as much as you can, while evading police, and get out of the city in a certain amount of time. Out of all of his games, this one I feel like is the easiest one to grasp. If people were trying to get into his games, I would say do this one because that'll give you an idea of how it works. Because there's everyone has like a individual mission card that's in their hand, and that corresponds to different locations of where you might have the most money. But there are different police officers that are roaming around that you have to try and evade, and it's all meeples, so the game kind of looks abstract. It's not his prettiest game by any means, because there's just regular city blocks, there's water tiles, and you can of course swim across the entire river, but you can get items, you can purchase items like a jet ski that allow you to go across water to get to, maybe you were laundering money at, a car wash, and you go to a car wash and you're like, I fucking need my money. Give me my $800,000. And that doesn't weigh a lot, but put it in this bag and I'll carry it over my shoulder and try and get out. I don't think I've tried the solo variant for this game. I know it exists. But most of his solo variants are really solid, and simulate another player. But there's also there's like a track that you're trying to modify, like your awareness track of how much the cops are just going to immediately go to you, and how you're moving. And players can also move these police officers in your way, and it's like, oh crap, I was going to go to that grocery store, but now I can't. It is thematic, doesn't look thematic, but it's a really good one. And I keep all his games in my collection, even though the Gallerist might be my least favorite. I still have it because I know it's still pretty good.
Right.
But yeah, if you're gonna test out a heavy Euro by Vital Lacerda, then definitely give this one a shot. So that's my 84. Escape Plan.
There you go. Well, my number 84 is new to the list. It's one that I introduced to you.
Liar. You don't introduce me games.
Yes. Well, on this one, I don't think you were super high on, but
I bet I know what it is.
And it's a 2021 game. It just came out this year.
Never mind, I don't know what it is.
And it's an interesting game because it's very asymmetric. Everybody's playing different roles, and that is Merchant's Cove.
Is that 2021?
Yep.
Oh my God, it is.
So it is.
I gave it a 6 out of 10. That is slightly above average.
Right. And I would probably give it, I can't remember what I gave it on your
You gave it an 8?
Yeah, I was gonna say probably like an 8 or 8.5 or something like that. This is a very unique game because there's everybody has their own entirely set up mini game in front of them of how they're going to get resources to make their items that they're going to try to sell off to the sailors or people that are coming into the cove.
The merchants.
Right. And the main box has 4 unique ones, and then they also have the Dragon Rancher, the Innkeeper, the Oracle. Those are other ones that I have not tried any of those 3 yet. But you pretty much, and I like the time aspect. This has that mechanic where you're spending time to do things.
Yep.
And if you are, still behind somebody, I mean, like you can manage. You might take 2 or 3 turns in a row if you're far enough behind, but then, if you take a super powerful deal that gets you a lot of resources or does something, you may wait a few turns to get your turn because you're doing all that stuff. So
yeah,
my favorite one in the base box is the blacksmith. That one goes with me. I think Kat played the potion maker, and you were the time person,
the time wizard.
Yeah, so
I was what's his face from Back to the Future.
Yeah,
because that's exactly who they were modeled after.
But this one, plus it has great art. I mean, the Miko is top notch.
Eventually people will realize that he's not a great artist.
I don't know. All these big games keeps hiring him to do their stuff. So
I know.
But maybe he's really cheap.
His art looks like it.
Well, you know, we've discussed this. Like the people look one way, but like his monsters and his city
Yeah,
look another. You know,
this
so
cover is amazing. Like his people are God. I hate his people, but man, if he could do scenic art, this is
Mhm.
so colorful and vibrant and lovely. Yeah.
But yeah, this game, you know, just having all the variations, you know, like I would say if you're going to dive into this game that you probably should get those other character expansions just because, you know, once you've played those base characters a handful of times, you're going to want to, you know, move on and stuff. So the longevity of this game may not be super great, but it does have a really cool solo mode, very good AI along with it and everything. So, and everything, it's just a good one. I mean, it looks beautiful on the table.
Yeah, it's
it
a
has
table hog too.
It is. It takes up a lot of space. But yeah, this is definitely a decent one. Probably I'm going out on a limb. I may be over speaking here, but I think as far as the Final Frontiers game and something that Johnny Pack has made, this is probably my favorite of that from those people.
Johnny Pack.
Yeah, he did like Coloma. I haven't played that yet and stuff, but
yeah, Sierra West.
yeah, and I have that and haven't played it yet. So
yeah, so what ultimately? Oh, he did. He's involved in Endless Winter.
Yes, and so is
which we haven't played.
Right.
Yeah, what ultimately came down for me, and I think I mentioned it in the discussion, it is asymmetrical without a doubt. Like I'm not disputing that. But for me, it was kind of like, oh, I've played them, and that was that.
Right.
Like I said, to me, your decisions don't change based off the different other groups that are involved. Like in Root, for example, which is to me the pinnacle of asymmetry in gameplay. If I'm playing the cats, I'll play them differently than how I would against, you know, if it's the birds, the moles, and the beavers. I'd play the cats differently than I would interact with everyone if there was a different set of enemies. And here, it doesn't matter if you're playing the blacksmith and, you know, and I'm playing the whatever, some other thing. You'll play the blacksmith the exact same way that you would, no matter what. So it was a lot of solitaire gaming. The mini games were fine; they were fun. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on the game. I still gave it a 6 out of 10.
I think
if someone,
sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if someone were to ask me to play it, I definitely would. I wouldn't be like, God, what the fuck you just say to me?
Yeah.
Ask me to play Merchant's Cove.
I think the big player interaction point of this game, it comes to when you're drawing the meeples out of the bag and placing them on the ships.
Right.
Because that kind of sets up, that's your interaction. You know, if you're wanting to, because you know certain colored meeples will buy certain colored things, and you need them to go to like the place where you can sell the big items or the small items. You know, so you have to. That's really the only main interaction of the game.
Yeah.
But
that is true.
It's not a perfect game by any means, but it's definitely a decent one.
Yeah. All right. My number 83 is one. Actually, we're kind of flipping now because we're talking about a game that I like, and I think that you don't care for it as much anymore. It has risen. Last year, it was 128, and the year before that, it was 76. So kind of the same thing as Escape Plan, except not as big of a jump back. And this is the second iteration in a trilogy of games by Red Raven Games, and that is Near and Far. Boy, this cover is like drastically different from just Merchant's Cove.
Yes.
It's like, oh, color and livelihood and art, and you can tell what things are, and then brown. Which isn't a dock on Ryan Lockett. His art is extremely good. So Near and Far is it's like an adventure kind of worker placement game where you, depending on each map, you're trying to basically get the most points. You'll have a hand of artifact cards, which actually for setup, you're dealt a certain amount, and you decide which ones you don't want, because anything that's left over in your hands is negative points. You're trying to, the game ends when you have placed all of your tens. So there is kind of a race element to it, which initially for me was very annoying, because like in any race game, it's just kind of like, I'm just going to forego everything about the game and just try and get those tens out. And then it's like,
Yes.
well, but there's quests and there's stuff to read. Like, I want to be involved in the world. And I will say that in the campaign, which their campaign is just 10 games of this in a row, that is a lot more accentuated. The racing of the tent placement is definitely the goal, because how you win the whole campaign is by whoever has the most points total out of all 10 games, which is horrible. But in the other games that I have played, where we just pick a map and play on it, then everyone does want to explore. They gradually do place their tens, but they want to go have the adventures and get the keywords. And that makes this game shine a lot more. You have, I mean, you can go out to the mining area. That'll give you some resources. That also lets you place tens. You hire workers that allow you to do various actions like skill checks in the book. And this one, unlike Above and Below, where you just had an encounter and that was it, this one you have encounters that could potentially give you keywords for later maps and later later encounters, where it's like, hey, read this. If you have the keyword happy, then read this instead. And that's always exciting, because that allows you to basically feel like you had a choice in something that you did. But yeah, you can defeat bandits. There's actually just one deck of enemies you can fight, and they get weaker as they go. There's trading routes, so if you can get both of your tents on, you get a bunch of points at the end. And that's what, like I said, what the campaign ended up being. Oh, trade routes. Let's just go to trade routes, and that's all we're gonna do. Oh, don't you want to go over to this story? Nope, trade route. So it'll probably sit around here. I do. Well, let me just double check myself here. I'm 100% sure I like this better than Above and Below. Yeah, I don't think Above and Below is my top in my top 100. But yeah, I mean, we'll see where it lands after Now or Never. If that one comes in and it's like, oh my god, this is way superior, I guess I'll never play Near and Far again, you know. But it has gone up. I don't hate it like I did after that campaign.
Right.
It's still really good. So that's my number 83.
I think this one I was just bummed out because the people I was playing it with were just doing like you said and just racing.
Yeah.
So it was just stupid.
Yeah, you miss out on what I mean, because Above and Below had a good pacing to it. You got more points by delving below, and then you got to have a fun little encounter. In here, you don't have to ever have those encounters. Nothing is forcing you to, unless you travel to a spot where it happens. So it would have been nice if you, to race to get your tents done, if somewhere along that you still had to have an encounter. I think that would make it a little bit better. But yeah, you could completely forego those and just place your tents, go to the mine every single time and just place them. And it's like, okay, like you missed out on the actual like spirit of the game, but sure, yeah, you won, good for you. Never playing with you again as you're packing it up. So yeah, it's really good. Just don't play the campaign. The campaign sucks.
Sounds good. All right, so my number 83 is a game that has fallen, and it's mainly because I'm ready for the expansion to come out. It needs this expansion for more content. And that is Star Wars Outer Rim. Great game. You know, it's an
83.
It killed Firefly for me. I always had Firefly around until I got this. This just makes, because Firefly is just such a long game. Firefly's fun, but this can be played like half the time. And plus it's Star Wars, and you get to get to control Boba Fett or Han Solo, and you're out on the outer rim picking up jobs, doing good stuff, bad stuff, whatever direction you want to take. Ultimately, at the end, it's whoever has the most money. And it's good and thematic for what it is. It has when this game first got talked about, it had that weird like half circle track and stuff, and I thought that just looked kind of odd, but then it actually works really well. This new expansion's just going to add more to it, and it's going to liven it right back up. And hopefully, there's not a whole lot about the expansion to really know what it's going to add. But
what do you mean? On Board Game Geek, it says an expansion to Outer Rim.
Yeah, I know. So it's one of those deals that it just kind of got announced not too long ago. So hopefully I was hoping they were going to release some information about it, like over these conventions and stuff. But
yeah, if I had to guess, with Fantasy Flight, they haven't been pumping out as much expansions for board games. If I had to guess, this is probably going to be a big box board game like Twilight Imperium, where it adds a shit ton of content, and then they'll be done with it.
That's fine.
That would be my guess.
Yeah.
Which honestly, not a bad thing. Like, the expansion for Twilight Imperium is huge, and it has almost everything from 3rd edition involved. Like, if they did that for this one, where it's like, hey, here's like 80 modules or whatever,
right?
Like, then it's like, okay, I got enough there. Don't have to keep spending $70 on an expansion.
Yeah, and
I haven't played this, so I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's good pick up and deliver and stuff like that. It's not a bad one. It's all
fighting. Is there fight? Like, this box looks like it's like X-Wings kind of stuff.
It's not fighting like you would think. I mean, it's a lot of just pick up and deliver and decision making, and you can do bad, like what am I trying to say? You can do like bounties, and there's some dangerous jobs and stuff like that you can do. And it just, you some of the illegal cargo stuff that you can carry. I mean, you may get more money for doing those, but you could also get, caught and arrested and all different odds and ends. So you just kind of have to choose, which way to go. The solo mode for this game is really cool and really challenging, because you're just at the end of the game, trying to have more money than the AI person you're playing against and stuff. So it's a solid game. It actually exceeded my expectations after it was first announced. Plus, it's ripe for a nice Mandalorian added in on the expansion. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see. I was actually just thinking about that. Is there a season 3 to Mandalorian?
It's not yet. It's going to be coming out.
Okay, that's what I thought. Because doesn't the Boba Fett come out this month?
It comes out here just after Christmas, I think, and then season 3 of Mandalorian comes out in 22.
Sweet. That makes me happy. Yep. All right. My 82 went up. It was 85 last year, so it went up 3 spaces, and it was 98 in 2019. It actually went up because I did play it this year back in January at my friend's bachelor party, and it was an absolute blast. I sometimes forget how much fun these kinds of games can be whenever you're just interacting with a bunch of people that you're really good friends with, and that is Deception: Murder in Hong Kong.
Yep.
God, this one feels like it came out forever ago.
When did it? I bet it's 15.
2014.
Oh, 14?
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez, it's like I feel like it's been a while, but at the same time, I feel like I just remembered the Dice Tower talking about it. But yeah, I guess that was 7 years ago. Anyway, Deception is it's kind of like a social deduction whodunit kind of game, where one person is a forensic scientist who can't talk, he can only give out clues, and then another person is the murderer, and everyone else is a cop trying to figure out which one is the murderer. Everyone knows who the forensic scientist is. Obviously, they have to give the clues, but no one knows who is the murderer. And you have 2 rows of cards in front of you, red and blue cards. And if you are the murderer, you pick a pair of 1 red and 1 blue as the murder weapon. And kind of like the method is how I kind of delineate between the two. And then the forensic scientist has boards that are of categories that he can only give. I think each of them has maybe like 5 or 6 different clues. So time of day, you know, method of death or whatever. And silently, he puts a bullet on each tile on one clue. And then everyone discusses what matching pair it should be or it could be. And the killer obviously is involved in that. So he's trying to pull away from himself. Everyone's kind of trying to pull away from themselves, but then most of the cards match and could, you know, make everyone looking like they incriminate themselves. It's so much fun. Like whenever I played this last time, I'm horrible as the forensic scientist. I'm so bad. So because it's them trying to read the clues that the scientist gives, and hopefully they can get into my stupid ass mind for them to get it, and no one does. And then I try to change my way of thinking. I'm like, okay, this is what they were saying, so that's how I'm gonna start giving clues. And then they are like, oh well, he was focusing on this last time, and I'm like, I changed my mind. But no, the last time I played this, the killer, whenever I taught them, whenever he started looking around, and I was like, oh, does he think he has to pick like someone else's? And then I realized what he was doing is he was looking at everyone else's cards to see which one he can pick on his own that also matches kind of what they have. So it wouldn't be so obvious on that it was him. And I was like, you ass. Like that makes it so hard for me. This game is fantastic. We had 6 people, and that's what I would probably minimize it as, like at least 6 people to really, because they can play up to 12.
Yeah.
And there is an expansion. I think there's just one. Where is it? Yeah, the Undercover Allies expansion, which add different roles. So the more people you have, the more roles. You can have a witness, and you can have another forensic scientist or something. I don't know. I know a witness is a thing. But these games definitely do shine with more people. If you're going to get any of them and you do have a solid group or a gaming group or a game day you go to where you can have at least 6 plus play, definitely get this one.
Yeah.
So that's my 82.
Sweet. All right. My number 82 has been on my list for quite a while. It was 70 2 years ago, 56 last year, and it's 82 this year. Mainly because the solo play that I enjoy the solo play, but it's just a beach. It's like, you know, it's one of those where you have to get to a certain score and they have that ranking of how well.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that kind of gets played out after a while. That's Nations, the dice game.
Okay.
This is a really simple, easy to teach dice game for people. It kind of turns the big sprawling Nations board game into a dice version. Everybody has their own little civilization that you get to choose, and you start with a certain number of dice, and then you are gaining resources from those dice, kind of like how you would do like in the Roll Through the Ages games and stuff like that. And then you spend those resources to buy little tiles that you'll use. And when you buy these tiles, certain ones of them will replace tiles on your board. But the trick is like you may buy a tile that adds 2 blue dice, you know, and if you put that on your player board and it covers up one of your white dice, then you take that white dice leaves your pool, and then you automatically roll those 2 blue dice and get to use those resources. So you're kind of just doing that for the most part. There's cards that'll let you get or tiles that will let you get more like re-rolls of dice, or because you do have to feed your people and all that jazz. One of the most important things they did for this game was they came out with the can't remember what the expansion was called, but it added
Unrest.
Yeah, Unrest. So it added more civilizations, but those civilizations started with different stuff, so they become a little more asynchronous.
Yeah.
And then it also added some new just some new components to it, that adds a little more variability to it and everything. It's a good solid game. I mean, you can play a full game of this in 30 minutes if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's just a solid little tile placement dice roller. I mean, it's one that I really liked when I first got it, and everybody I seem to show it to seems to like it for the most part. I don't know if you did. Have you ever played this?
Yeah, me, you, and Kat played it.
Okay.
It was fine. Yeah, like I can't really remember too much of exactly how it played. I do, of course, remember that I won. So that's the only thing I need to remember, right? No, yeah, but I don't remember any very specifics about it. I feel like I remember everyone being the same, except you just have a tile. You're like, oh, I'm Egypt and you're Greece. Okay.
Yeah, and that gets fixed with that Unrest expansion because
Yeah.
you just start with more stuff, and
which would be nice.
nice.
Yeah, it's like have a different kind of civilization.
My big complaint about that expansion, though, is that they should, if that was the route they were going to do, they should have also included new boards for the original.
Oh, they didn't?
No.
Oh.
So it's like, so you play with the vanilla or you play with the deal. That was one of the things that I kind of, but you take it for whatever it is. It's fine.
It's really dumb though. If they're going to make asynchronous civilizations, like include boards for the original so they can also be
right.
be unique. Huh. Weird.
Anyway,
what's funny though is the expansion says the first big expansion, and it's been like 4 years. So it's like,
the only expansion.
Yeah, it needs to be retconned in Board Game Geek. The only big expansion for nations.
Right.
All right. And the last one for this segment is, for me, new on the list. This one is absolutely gorgeous. At least the minis are. They are easily the best miniatures that I have seen in gaming, and I did not have to paint them. I didn't have to do anything for them. They are on display in a curio cabinet because they are that good. And that is Street Fighter, the miniatures game. Besides the minis being immaculate in perfection, the gameplay is actually really good on this one too. What they wanted to go for was a 3D kind of fighting instead of your typical, well, obviously Street Fighter. I don't think any iteration of it has been 3D. I know Mortal Kombat kind of went 3D for a while, then they went back to the 2D style. This one does have that, where you actually have movement and you have your miniature on a big board that you can move around to do different types of attacks. You have terrain that you can throw people into that deal damage to them. And every single fighter, I think there's like 38, somewhere around there, different fighters that have their own deck. Now, the decks aren't so radically different from one another. They are different, and you can tell mainly by the artwork. Oh, this is reuse stuff. This is Zangief's like deck. The art is gobsmackingly beautiful, and it does tell a story. If you're familiar or a really big Street Fighter fan, you're going to be like, oh man, I know these characters. I know what they're doing. I know what this title means. So they really did put their heart and soul into the theme. But yeah, you have different cards. You have a deck of cards that allow you to do their signature attacks. You can combo off cards, which is really cool. They have like their linked colors. So if you do an attack, your opponent can also try to counter. And if they can guess what type of card you're attacking, then your card gets canceled, and then they'll get a little benefit for it. But let's say like Ryu does his Hadouken and it has like a blue link on the right side. If you have other cards that have a blue on the left side, then you can combo. So if his Hadouken hits, then you can combo, and then all they can do is really defend. They can't counter a combo, which is really like pleasant. If you can get a combo going, it does mimic like you backing up and just Hadouken, 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 or like doing a trip over and over. So you can play this with up to, I believe, 4. Did they allow for more than
says
No.
2 to 6
Oh, yeah,
players
2 to
on there.
6. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I would never do that. Absolutely not. But 4 would be pretty fun as a free for all. You can do teams and things like that. They also have a boss expansion with oh man, Akuma and M Bison. And you can play as them as regular fighters, but in their boss mode, they're really buffed up. And it's like a 1 versus all. They really put everything they could into the box. But you can also play this as your classic mode 1v1, which I'm starting a tournament with all these fighters and doing it as a 1v1. But yep, you can build up and do their ultra. There is a fan-made app that is stellar for it, that actually whenever when you attack, you can click a button. Whenever they are hit, they make a sound. When they do their ultimate, it sounds like their sounds from the video game. So to enhance your game, definitely go get that app. But yeah, and then they should be going, I think it was finally announced in March of next year is when they're going on Kickstarter for Mortal Kombat. Yay! Which I'm more excited for because I like Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I think I'd be more excited for Mortal Kombat as well.
But you can combine them whenever that comes out.
Yeah,
which will be pretty cool. So yeah, that is my 81 Street Fighter the miniatures game.
All right, my number 81 is one that has fallen a little bit, just mainly because I haven't played it. It was 42 2 years ago, 44 last year, 81 this year. It was one of my early, well, not my first CMON games, because that would have been Blood Rage, or not Blood Rage, but Zombicide. This one is Blood Rage.
Oh wow, okay.
So this one's still a classic. It just, like I said, it just doesn't get played a whole lot. But the card drafting and the area control and getting those monsters and keeping those monsters. I know that there's strategies you can do with different cards and stuff like that, but like the Loki strategy and all that, different odds and ends. But there's some good stuff. And I just, if you having all the monsters, having the Fenrir and all that stuff is kind of a must for that. I mean, Fenrir is such a good monster to have.
He is.
But yeah, but you have to watch out, because if you do that whole Fenrir Loki thing all at one time and you play with the same people, they know how to block that shit and it pisses you off. But no, this was a classic one. I mean, of all of the games in this little, I guess, God trilogy kind of thing that Eric Lang did, this is still, in my opinion, the best overall. I of course, I say that knowing that I haven't played Rising Sun, but I have played Ankh, and I know that this is way higher than Ankh.
I completely agree.
But it's just a really solid. And at that time when the Kickstarter came out, it wasn't very expensive, and you got so much crap with it. It was like $75 for the pledge, and you added on like maybe 25 for that 5th player expansion and stuff. It was before CMON started charging $400.
Yeah, those were the days back when plastic apparently wasn't expensive. Yeah, this one's so fucking good. Like, I haven't played it in a while. I actually have played Rising Sun a lot more recent. But yeah, there is so much depth to this game with its card drafting and different strategies to win. This one's extremely solid. It's a 10 out of 10 game for me. Like, I still have it as a 10, and I don't intend on changing it. Rising Sun is also a 10, so Ankh is not a 10. So I was actually looking at it. Blood Rage has an 8.0 with 37,000 ratings. Rising Sun, I think, is a 7.8 with 17,000 ratings, and then Ankh is an 8 with 3,000 ratings. So we'll see if Ankh stays as an 8 whenever it gets into the double digits for ratings, or if anyone even plays it. Who knows?
I think I'm gonna have to sit through and play it Saturday with that game day I'm doing.
Are you playing it with 4?
Yeah.
Okay. It'll probably be better with 4, because the merging at least won't feel like someone just gets dicked on.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah, let me know if it's any better, like, for you with 4. everyone who's talks about that game that I know that really likes it is like, no, it's best at 2, and I'm like, yeah, because that shitty ass mechanic isn't in it. It never should have been.
Exactly.
But I'm not. That's that game.
That's another.
Talking about a good game like Blood Rage.
Anyway, yeah, that's my 81.
Awesome. So that was it for this segment. Lots of good games in there. Yeah, that was a good list. I like talking about all those. Yeah, so I mean, stick around for the rest. Next up will be 80 through 71, and then we'll just keep on trucking. But let us know what you think of these games in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.